Welcome to the Exercising Depression podcast and YouTube channel. My name is Claire, your host, and today we're going to be talking about my faith. Now, this might be the kind of subject that divides people, I'm not sure, but it's something I've wanted to talk about on here for a really long time. Ever since starting it, really. Now, if you've been listening to me for a long time, you've probably listened to or are aware of the episode I did with my friend Richard, the vicar. He's the vicar of the church I go to and have been going to for about 10 years, sort of on and off. And it's something I wanted to really talk about because I think I have mentioned it in past episodes. But it's not really something I've gone into, and I think it's a lot more complex than I think people might expect. Not that I'm sort of saying, oh, I'm so complicated and, my faith is, far too complex for you to understand. That's exactly not what I'm saying. But I think if people are going to be listening to this podcast and, really becoming invested in it, for themselves, they should really know where I stand when it comes to things like faith. But yeah, sorry, quickly, just a couple of housekeeping things. My cat's in the room with me, so if there's any sort of noises or noise, if you see her on the screen, it's because she's here. We are actually doing a vlog today for work, so she's just waiting around. So if you hear anything or see anything, she's here. Also, I was in London at the weekend, so like a week ago today, when this goes out, I was in London. I know I had an episode out, I was thinking I might do an episode I went to VidCon in London, and I had a good time. I genuinely think if I did an episode of my time in London, I think it might be quite boring. So I did actually start these recordings as my experience at VidCon, but I just found myself being bored by the stories I was telling. So I'll leave that maybe to a later date. I might actually be going to VidCon in Abu Dhabi at the end of next month. I think that might be a bit more interesting, so we'll see. I don't want to go into that just yet. So yes, let's talk about faith. Like I said, I think this might be a divisive subject for people because I know personally a lot of people who are very first of all undecided about faith, but I also know people on both ends of the spectrum. That I know quite a lot of people who really hate religion. I know people who are very, very devout and evangelical about faith and that kind of thing. And I just wanted to share my personal stories about my relationship with my faith. It's something that's very important to me. But what you need to understand is my faith has been a really long journey for me. I hate using that term and phrase because it just sounds so cliche, but it's true. I was brought up Catholic. Right from the get-go, I was christened in a Catholic church. I went to a Catholic primary school, I went to a Catholic high school, even went to a Catholic college. And I got my first Holy Communion, I got confirmed and everything in a Catholic church, Catholic school. I had a Catholic upbringing. I went to church on Sundays. Now neither of my parents are particularly religious, but my grandparents on my dad's side are Catholic. And actually my mum's family are Anglican, and I think it was like if my mum and dad were to marry, the kids had to be brought up Catholic, which is fair enough, I think. I know that that'll come across as quite draconian, I think, but as much as I'm not Catholic anymore, I don't really sort of identify as a Catholic, and I don't practice as a Catholic anymore. And I know a lot of people do bemoan being brought up Catholic, having a Catholic upbringing. And while I would never really sort of lean towards Catholicism to bring up children, my experiences with faith schools as growing up, I genuinely think I got a good experience out of it. Yeah, I had to go to church and I didn't want to, and I went through the phases, like everyone does, I assume that I went through phases of questioning whether I actually believed in God. I did go through that, like, I think everyone does. I think everybody does. It was specifically when I was a bit of an angsty teenager, an early teenager I think. I was a bit of a goth. Still am a bit, and sort of like, you know, God doesn't exist, blah blah blah. But I came back to it, and it was that's why I really count as my sort of beginnings of my journey into my faith, realizing my faith and realizing its importance to me. So when I was at school, primary school, I went to a local Catholic primary school, and I think what I really got out of it was seeing and realizing where we were, like where we stood in the whole grand scheme of things. That, you know, humans weren't, you know, we're at the top of the food chain and we, you know, run the world basically, but we have our place in the world. We have our place in nature and the environment and things like that. And that's really what I remember learning about when I was at school, when I was at primary school. And yeah, I mean, I've always enjoyed religious studies. Like when I was at primary school, when I was at high school, RE was always one of my favourite subjects. I'll get to that a bit later, but yeah, it was always a bit of a divisive thing at my school. So in primary school, you sort of get told all these things, and you know, you get into the habit and the routines of being in a faith school. I always knew that my parents weren't particularly religious, but you know, it was sort of done in our, you know, best interests as children, to be brought up like this, and you know, and I, like I said before, but I didn't, going to church was always a bit of a pain, and that's more because I didn't like sitting for an hour and a half or an hour or whatever in a cold church and singing songs I didn't really know. I'd much rather be outside playing or at home or something, you know. That's really all it came down to, was that I didn't really enjoy sitting in a cold church every Sunday. And the Catholic masses there so long as well. So yeah, that was really sort of my first sort of dislike of faith, was because I hated being in church all the time because it was cold and it was always early and it was a Sunday morning and there. But so when I went to high school, it was a Catholic high school, so we had like Catholic, you know, morals, Catholic teachings and that kind of thing. But by this time, like with everybody, I think when you get to a certain age, certain teenager age, whatever, is that you question it. You question your faith, and you question whether you believe in it at all. And quite a lot of my friends, in fact all of them, didn't. And that's fine, you know, that's perfectly fine. I think even I was just like, I don't think I believe in all this. But I've always enjoyed religious studies and religious talks, and there's always been something about a higher being, something bigger than myself that I've really subscribed to. And it's something I've tried to shake a few times, being an angsty teenager and a rebellious teenager, well, not rebellious. But doing that made me sort of question a lot of things, but that was always something that even though I tried really hard to reject it, it was always something that came back to me, and always something that I just found myself believing in and getting a lot of comfort out of. I never really advertised the fact, but it was just always something that was a part of me, you know? So anyway, it was like about 10 years ago, this is when I was still with my boyfriend, now husband, and he's always been to church. He's Anglican, and he's always been, because he sings in the school choir, church choir, and has done since he was a young man. And he went to a local Anglican church, And it got to a point about sort of 10 years ago, I said to him that, you know, I was really interested in pursuing church again, because I was really looking into myself and wondering, you know, where do I stand on religion, faith, my own faith? What does it mean? What do I believe? And I tried going back to my old Catholic church, and it was just as long and cold and boring as I remember. So I was like, yeah, no, Catholicism isn't for me. I have my own issues with Catholicism and the organised religion of Catholicism, but I'm not going to go into that because it's not interesting to anybody, really. So I started going to this church in my local town, where my husband and his family have been going for a really long time. And it just so happens, if you listen to my conversation with Richard, the vicar of that church, it was just when he had started, and it was just when he had started, and I really liked him as a vicar, as a person. So I started going there, and it was something that, the thing I was most struck by actually was the congregation and how wonderfully accepting and loving they were, and friendly. They were so friendly and accepting to me. I felt so comfortable going to that church, and I wasn't expecting it, because my experience with church congregations was not many people talk to one another, and it's very cliquey. So, you know, the evangelical people will only really talk to the evangelical people and that kind of thing, but loads of people came to talk to me. They knew who I was so-and-so's girlfriend, so I think that was like a personal interest anyway. But as he'd been going there for a really long time, and yeah, so I just carried on going to that church, and for the past 10 years I have been going, for on and off for about 10 years. A couple of years ago, actually at the beginning of middle of last year, I started going because mental health took a downturn, and I questioned everything and realised that I thought I didn't get out of it as much as I did, and then the more I thought about going back, the more anxiety I got, because I was like, the longer I stay away, the more of it's going to be a big thing when I go back. A lot of people will be like, oh, you know, welcome back, where have you been, blah blah blah, and I built that up in my head so much, I was just like, I just can't deal with that. And obviously the longer it got, the harder it got to think that I could be in that situation. But I did start going again just before Christmas last year, so 2019, and it was like I'd never left, which was wonderful. Also had a lot of people come up to me and say, oh, welcome back, it's really nice to see you again, but it wasn't made like such a big deal out of, which I was so happy about. And I've been going ever since, semi-regularly. Didn't go last week, obviously, because I've been in London, and we didn't get back till like 11:30, so missed it anyway. Turns out actually the vicar, Richard, who I had a conversation with, he's actually leaving very soon, actually, yeah, just after Easter, which I'm really quite sad about. I will miss him, but it's quite exciting to see what is in store for the parish next. But yeah, so what is my faith, like, what do I believe in? Well, I'm definitely more Anglican than I am Catholic, but in actual fact I'm more, I don't know if you've heard of a sort of part of Christianity called Unitarianism. My father-in-law was a Unitarian, his father was a Unitarian minister, and I looked into the belief system of Unitarianism, and it really struck me how similar it was to what I believe in, and it's quite a lot of it's sort of like the science of religion, and it's less like a lot of the miracles and the magic, not magic, I don't mean magic, but like the miracles and the unexplainable things of Christianity, which I always found it a bit, I always felt really uncomfortable with things like the creed, which is something you say in church during mass. You all stand up and say this sort of long thing about what you believe, and it's all about you know, the Holy Trinity and the one church and that kind of thing. And I've never said the creed. That's my cat, sorry, she's, what do you want? Do you believe in the creed? I don't think so. I think she's bored, so sorry if she interrupts, but that's just what she's going to be doing from now. But yeah, I've never said the creed, because I read through it and I don't believe these things, so I feel a bit of a fraud if I stand up and say it. And with communion's a big thing. And obviously I got baptised in a Catholic church. I think if you get baptised in an Anglican church, you can't take communion in a Catholic church. I might be wrong with that, I'm not sure. I don't think it happens, it doesn't think it works the other way around, so if you're baptised Catholic, I think you can still take communion in an Anglican church. But I've always had my issues with communion. I don't believe in it, which I know sounds really stupid, because Catholics actually believe that the bread and the wine is the body and blood of Christ. Anglicans believe it is symbolic of the blood and body of Christ, and I don't believe in it at all. Which I don't know if it makes any sense to anybody, but the whole idea of taking communion, meaning that you belong to the church, is something I've always felt uncomfortable with. Now I usually go to church by myself, in that I go with my husband and my sister-in-law, but they're in the choir, so I just sit by myself. Sometimes my father-in-law comes, and because he's Unitarian, he doesn't take communion either. So I've always felt like I don't feel so bad for not taking communion, because I think I subscribe more to Unitarian belief with Christianity than I do with Anglican. And I have to say, when it comes to my faith, there's a lot of it I don't really believe with Christianity, and I think a lot of people get really blindsided by, if you say you have faith or you're a Christian, and they just think, oh, that person must believe all the things that Christianity believes, and that's just not true. I know people of the cloth who don't believe in a lot of the things that are in the Bible and all that kind of thing. I think, you know, and it's genuinely something that I've struggled with. Actually, I've wrestled with myself, like, you know, am I really a Christian if I don't believe in communion? Am I really a Christian if I don't believe in the Holy Trinity? Which I don't. Am I really a Christian if I don't believe that Jesus was actually the Son of God? Because that's what I believe. I don't believe that Jesus was the literal Son of God. I think he was someone who had very deep faith and sacrificed himself because he had such deep faith in God and in people. Like, anyone that was going to do that's a pretty cool human being to me, to be honest. You know, whether he was literally the Son of God or not, it doesn't matter. He was a good person. He did good things. If someone came to me tomorrow and gave me full-on proof that he was the actual Son of God, I'd be like, yeah, cool. Alright, I believe that because you have proof. But it can be really divisive when people talk about Jesus, because Jesus is a real cornerstone for a lot of people when it comes to their faith. Like, he's a real beacon of what it is to be a Christian. And I believe in everything that he stood for, and everything he did out of love of his fellow man, his fellow person, his fellow creature on this earth. And that's how I practice my faith. Like, I don't believe that God is a guy sat in a cloud somewhere. I don't believe that God is it's really hard to explain. I don't believe that God is a thing or a person or an entity. God, to me, is love. Whatever happens in the world through love is God, and that's what God is to me. you know, the love of people between each other, love of people between the children, the love of people to their pets, the environment, the world. That's God. That's fundamentally, to be a Christian, you have to be a good person, I think. But to be a good person doesn't mean you have to be a Christian. If that makes sense? I think Christianity, and to call yourself a Christian, is to act and be a good person to your fellow person and to the world, because everything's precious and everything is a gift from God, from the world. Like, the world has given us so much. You know, it's given us love, food, animals. You know, I am grateful and thankful and pray to the world, and I get so much out of that. It's something I found so deeply rewarding and also incredibly comforting. I go to church on a regular basis because I love the congregation so much. They're all lovely, and I count them, you know, many of them as friends. I'm on committees with some of them, and I also go to church because there's so much beauty that comes out of the faith of a group of people who love one another so deeply and see the world in a light that is just so beautiful. For example, hymns. Like, I don't know all the hymns, but so many of them, almost all of them, and there was a few stinkers to me, but they're so beautiful. And the fact that someone who wrote it had faith, and that's what faith inspired them to write these tunes, these hymns, these words, is beautiful to me. And it's just lovely. Like, so much good comes out of having a real belief in something, a real faith in something. And I know a lot of religion, and especially, like, you know, organised religion causes so many problems in the world, and it does. You can't deny that. It's true, unfortunately. Doesn't matter what faith you have, what religion you believe in. It's all sparked evil, and it's all sparked violence and anger and hate. And that is the exact opposite of what faith should be. It's the exact opposite of what religion should be. I firmly believe that the evil and hate in the world that is done in the name of religion is the people who do that use religion to their own end and skew the teachings and the belief system to fit their own narrative, and they use that to project their own hatred towards people. And that's why religion gets such a bad rap, I think. You know, it's not undue. There are so many horrible people in the world who use religion as their banner for what they do. It's disgusting. It's really, really disgusting. And that's why sometimes, you know, I feel really nervous sometimes, like, telling people that I'm a Christian, because everybody has these preconceptions of people. For anything, you know, if you tell someone you're a vegan, or you tell someone you're a teetotaler, or you tell someone you think the earth's flat, you know, people have preconceptions of these subscriptions that people have. So sometimes I feel more nervous telling people that I'm Christian than that I have mental health problems, which is so weird, I know. But I get so much out of the faith that I have, and it's helped me inexorably, and it's something I'm still exploring. You know, I do a lot of reading about Christianity, about what I believe, and I really love to explore what it is that I do believe and why I believe it. You know, and yeah, it's part of me. Being Christian and having this faith is part of me as much as that I am a twin, or that I am, you know, a human being. You know, and it's really funny because I don't like talking about my faith and religion that much, just because it can be so problematic for people. I know I have people who are close to me who won't talk about religion, or will talk about religion, but in almost exclusively in a negative way, and it hurts me. Not because I'm like, I can't believe they don't believe in whatever, but it's just like they already have this preconception of who I am because of this, and they won't be shaken. They won't listen to what I have to say or what I believe or why I believe. And it can hurt a lot, it really can, because it's like, when it comes to religion and politics, if you're going to have a conversation or a debate with someone about either, it's very unlikely that someone's going to change their mind through a debate or a conversation, because if you are, you don't really have much of a conviction in what you believe. But so many people put up walls and they won't even think about even trying to knock them down when it comes to faith, and that's really quite upsetting to me. That's what upsets me about people having a problem with me being Christian, is that they have these preconceptions of who I must be, that I must hate gay people, that I must hate women in the church, that I, that I'm prejudiced to anyone who isn't like me, and that's just not true, and none of that is true. And if people just took the time to listen to people on both sides, of course, if someone has some real strong beliefs, some feelings about religion and faith, I will listen to them, because people have their own experiences, and it's just, I don't have any problem with anyone who doesn't have faith. If you're an atheist, if you're a militant atheist, if you're agnostic, if you don't know, I don't care. I still love you. I still see you as an equal, as a wonderful and amazing person, because that's who you deserve to be. That's how you deserve to be seen. Bagsy agrees. I'm going to take that as I'm going to go because my cat is bored and is being disruptive, and I think I'm going to come back to this on another episode. I think this will be talk about my faith part 1, because I still have a lot to say, and I don't want this to be too long because I know people might get bored in watching it or listening to it. So yeah, that's my faith part 1. I hope you guys enjoyed listening and are watching to this. If you're on the YouTube channel and you want to check out the podcast, I'll leave a link in the description box below. Same with the podcast. If you want to watch the vlogs that accompany these, I'll leave a link in the description. So yeah, that's the cat being annoying. Thank you all again for watching and listening. I'll see you in my next episode. Bye guys.